You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Francesca Arnoldy, author and end-of-life doula. Welcome, Francesca. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us about your business. What is a doula and how does it relate to pets?
Sure. I started as a doula back in 2009, first trained in the birth world, so working as a postpartum doula with families who are welcoming home a new baby, and then as a childbirth educator, and then as a labor and delivery doula. I still do that work on occasion, but due to a number of losses that we experienced personally, I came to really realize that supporting people at the beginning of life feels really similar to supporting people and beings at the end of life. So within those losses, it was a couple of grandparents, it was a father-in-law, and our beloved dog, Bella, who died. It really showed me about grief, my own grief process and needs, those of my children and loved ones, how varying those needs are, and how a calm, steady presence throughout that journey of facing loss and then mourning afterward is so valuable. So I began looking into that more and then got connected with the University of Vermont and created an end-of-life doula training program for them, which is running and it's going strong. It's online. And then 2 years ago, we expanded our portfolio to include pet loss as well.
And so tell us about that program.
It's really fascinating. So we have a 4-week program that goes into 2 weeks of doula essentials, so compassionate care techniques. And a doula is a non-medical emotional support person who complements the care of any medical teams involved and is hired privately by the person, patient, client, dyad of dog, cat, pet, human. And a 2-week component, which really focuses on anticipatory loss, common medical journeys that an owner or a guardian and their pet might go through as they're facing the end, and common symptoms and coping techniques for those. It goes through grief in all of its facets, as well as planning and preparing. So thinking about how do you want to spend your time well, bucket list items, what's possible, what's not, and really looking at your particular companion animal. What makes that animal him or herself? What changes are we seeing? A doula might provide respite as well, because as we know, caregiving can be incredibly exhausting. A doula could help to capture memories and encourage memory making in the form of legacy projects. So it could be scrapbooks, it could be photo books, it could be recordings of interviews with a loved one. So it could be children sharing their favorite times that they've had with the pet. It goes in so many different directions. Doulas really customize our care. And then we also make sure that our clients have all the information they need to make their best choices. So part of our role is being a bridge to connect people to valuable resources, knowing what's available locally, and then making sure people have access to that.
So tell us about I understand you're an author, so tell us about your books.
Sure, I wrote a doula guidebook, which is focused mainly on the care of humans. And then I wrote a picture book called Map of Memory Lane. And that book features a conversation between a grandparent and a grandchild and introduces the idea of memory lane being a place where anyone can visit and be able to still access their person or their pet, whoever they're potentially mourning, and really reflect on and reminisce those beautiful times that they shared together. So it's a gentle introduction to the topic of death and includes a coping technique that children can utilize. And then I also developed an activity book that goes along with it, which is really customizable. So it's a file that people can download and print, and then they can complete their own. It's called My Map of Memory Lane. So it's their own memory book, and people can use, whatever they have available, pencils, crayons, markers, paint. They can add photos or other memorabilia within there. And then often they'll write in memories, and I have prompts as well. So it's about, what was your favorite time or what made you laugh, or different moments that they can reflect on about their pet or their person.
So first of all, I had a quick question regarding the University of Vermont class, and you said it's online. Is it open to everyone, or is it only open to students?
It's open to everyone. So it's adult education, it's continuing education. For people who have completed our 8-week course already, they take the 2-week specialty. And for people who haven't taken the 8-week, they have a 4-week option to complete.
Okay. And then regarding your books, where can people get a hold of them?
Through my website is a great place, contemplativedoula.com. I also have a website about my map of memory lane that people can find.
Okay. And is that the best place for listeners to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I have a contact form through contemplativedoula.com.
Okay. And I'll also put your information in the show notes.
Okay, wonderful.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Okay, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.